This video is made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details. Hey everybody, John Reardon here for Nintendo World Report TV, and I am joined by Neil Ronahan.
Hello.
This is our review of FC24 on Nintendo Switch.
We're here to talk sports. John is a big sports head now.
Yeah, this game was interesting to me from a technical perspective, but given that the last EA soccer game I played was World Cup 98 for the Nintendo 64, I obviously am not the person to review the actual gameplay. So, Neil will be handling the traditional aspects of this review, and then I'll hop back in a little later on to talk about the technical side of things. So, with that, Neil, take it away.
The legacy of EA Sports on Nintendo consoles has been murky at best in the past decade. The company's two popular mainstays have either been largely absent, like Madden, or half-assed, like FIFA, since the dawn of the Wii U. FIFA on Switch debuted in 2017, and while the game itself is relatively good, it was built on a custom version of EA's Ignite engine, as opposed to EA's Frostbite engine that powered the other versions of the game. That led to the game being a limited version of the long-running soccer experience. After that 2017 debut, every subsequent FIFA release on Switch was merely a Legacy Edition, as in it was almost identical to that 2017 release outside of roster updates. Finally, more than 2,400 days since the Switch launched, EA Sports is putting in some honest effort into the Nintendo Switch version of their soccer game, now called EA Sports FC, due to a licensing disagreement with FIFA. The results are fantastic, with a few caveats, as this game stacks up favorably to all other releases of EA Sports FC across other platforms, and even includes some neat Switch-exclusive touches. If you've only played EA soccer games on Nintendo platforms, then EA Sports FC has a boatload of modes you never even knew existed. You can hop into the action quickly with the kickoff mode, letting you set up a match with custom rules easily. You could even share the joy and play against a friend with each of you just using one Joy-Con. In addition to the soccer games themselves, a variety of offline and online modes let you fiddle with the sport in almost any way you want. Two different career modes exist, one where you control a manager and one where you control a player. Controlling a manager is akin to your typical franchise mode in other sports games. While I had fun with that, I really enjoyed my time in the player-focused career. I made myself a preposterous-looking man and controlled just them in games, which was far more compelling than I expected. Beyond career mode, the full scope of the microtransaction-laden Ultimate Team is playable on Switch for the first time. While every sports game now has a mode like this, I still don't enjoy it all that much. But generally speaking, you can play around with this card-based competitive mode without dropping tons of money. You generally just have to grind for resources. Say what you will about the concept of Ultimate Team, but it's nice that Switch owners actually have the agency to decide whether or not they want to engage with the full breadth of it. Ultimate Team is a mode you can only play online, which does make that element a challenge for the hybrid Switch system. I have so far been relatively impressed with how seamless reconnecting back to EA servers has been. When you come out of sleep mode, all you have to do is click in the right stick, and connecting back online happens relatively unobtrusively. As a comparison, this is a way better experience than I've had playing EA Sports' latest Madden on PlayStation 5, which has been way more frustrating to connect back to EA servers when I boot up the game from rest mode. Thankfully, even if a lot of modes have online functionality, you can still do a lot in this game without being online. Seasons and tournaments have a mixture of offline and online functionality, while also letting you toy around with all kinds of teams and rosters, including a wealth of women's soccer teams. One of the biggest additions to EA's soccer games in recent years is the Volta football mode. After making an avatar, you then play shorter, arcadey games primarily against others online, unlocking new gear and stat points along the way. It's a cool mode that is very dependent on the Switch EA Sports FC community to be populated. That's the same story for the Clubs mode, where you use that same avatar to play in games with your online club that you can create with friends. That leads to one of the major downsides of the Switch release. It has no crossplay. All the other releases have some form of crossplay with another console, so Xbox players can play with PlayStation players. The Switch stands alone though. Likely there is some technical reasoning behind it, but it's still a big disappointment that might cut the longevity of this game off at the knees. Truth be told, given EA's history, they shouldn't really get the benefit of the doubt with their Nintendo support. Still, the Switch version of EA Sports FC retains some Switch-specific options. The local seasons mode, which is a bullet point in the 2017 FIFA game, allows you to play one-on-one games against another Switch owner with the game over a local wireless connection. In handheld play, you can also use the touchscreen to zoom in on the action. That's neat, even if a tad impractical mid-match.
Now, FC24 is only the second ever appearance of EA's Frostbite engine on the Nintendo Switch, so I was extremely interested to see how it would scale down in this context. The overall results managed to impress, despite some caveats. Perhaps the most surprising feature is that both docked and handheld mode output the maximum resolution possible in either of those configurations. Docked turns in a full 1080p, and handheld hits the Switch screen's native 720p. There's no upscaling here, and neither is there evidence of dynamic resolution scaling on any of the shots I counted across both cutscenes and gameplay. That being said, both of these do run with no anti-aliasing whatsoever, so you're getting a very raw image that will show obvious stair-step artifacts on straight diagonal lines. Still, getting maximum resolution on a third-party, late-generation Switch game hasn't been common. Obviously, the visual details have been cut back to hit that goal, and so some of the players don't hold up as well in close-ups, but during actual gameplay, everything looks quite nice. The biggest concession to make this happen is a shift to 30 frames per second. There have been prior versions of FIFA on Nintendo Switch that did hit 60 FPS, but of course those were unique versions of the game, not running the same engine as the more powerful consoles. And likewise, as Neil mentioned, were not feature complete. It's an unfortunate change, but in a game like this where the action is viewed from far away, prioritizing resolution is, in my opinion, the right choice. It's also worth noting that this frame rate is pretty rock solid during actual gameplay. The only time we can see drops is during replays and cutscenes. This is likely caused by the lower camera angle, showing more geometry, and the depth of field effect that's used for these sequences, pulling the background out of focus. I did also test out the Pro camera angle setting, as that does feature a lower camera angle than the default camera, and found that the frame rate stayed locked there as well. So overall, a pretty reasonable technical performance.
EA Sports FC is a tremendous leap in the right direction for soccer games on Switch. It still isn't on the same level as other versions, but this is the narrowest the gap has been in more than a decade. If you're looking for a way to play a great soccer game on a portable system with a few compromises, this will get the job done. Hopefully this is the start of EA Sports putting out more of their library on Nintendo platforms, because I'm heartened by how EA Sports FC turned out.
This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.